KSM show.
Thank you. I'm so excited, man. And if I'm looking royal, it's just because I'm going to be hanging out with the royals today, man. Show some love, man. All right. Now listen to this. There's this lady I know way back from New York. We'll talk about that later. But her name is Princess Asi Ocansey. Give it up, man. And she's always doing things. She's really connected with the diaspora, and she's bringing our brothers and sisters in the diaspora back home to Ghana in this year of the return. Show some love, man. Yeah, and I'm telling you, this studio today is kicking because she's going to come and join me. And later on, we're going to introduce who in America we know as Reverend Dr. Michael Roberts. But in Ghana, his royal name is Nene Kubi Ocansey. Did I get it right?
Yes.
But in the meantime, put your hands together, show some love, and welcome Asi Ocansey. There. Please have a seat. Woo! Welcome to the show.
Yes.
It's been ages, man.
Too long, my brother.
You're not growing old though. You're like I first met you in Manhattan about 20-something years ago.
Don't go there now. Stop right there.
But how you doing?
I am blessed.
Wow.
Wonderfully blessed. It's been a fantastic week and a joy to be able to bring our brothers and sisters back home to the diaspora and restore family ties and give them names. 2 things that were lost from them.
So you're restoring the family ties.
Yes.
And giving them names.
Because in the name of, things happen. Names are very important. You know, when you say KSM, then everything starts to shatter, right? So names are very important, and it's like a GPS. So when they went through the door of no return, when they arrived on the other end, their names were taken away from them, and the names of the owners were given to them. Because if they had their names, many of them would know exactly where they came from, and they would try to come back home. So there's been a prophecy, Genesis 15, verse 13, which says, for 400 years, your children will be in a place not their own. And based on that, the president of Ghana issued the year of return. But for me, what is most exciting is Genesis 15:14, which says, now is the time to come out with great substance. That means that it is about the economic agenda. And that's what the Royals is about. Economic agenda. How do we now harness all these years and move to the next 400 years?
So it's no longer an emotional, just an emotional thing. It is an emotional thing.
Yes.
But it's saying it's no longer just an emotional thing.
Yes.
Let's step it up.
Exactly.
Let's include an economic agenda.
Absolutely. We've been through it. We've done that. We've suffered. We've arisen. We've shown we are resilient people. We're strong people. Thank God for that. And if we're still standing, we deserve the crown.
Put your hands together, guys. That's awesome. That's awesome. I think I was flipping through some of the literature I read with the Return of the Royals.
Yes.
And one thing that blew my mind was that the myth of the door of no return has been shattered.
Yes.
'Cause
the spell of no return has been broken and shattered for life. You know, it's interesting because T.I. Harris was here with Tiny, and together with our team, we went into the slave dungeons, and Reverend Jamal Bryant, who is now Nene Kabute Kubi Ocansey, and Bishop Dema, who is now Ayiku Kubi Ocansey from Denver, together they were able to officially end the 400 years in the realms of the spirit. And they did an anointing service in the dungeon and brought us all out to take a walk of wealth.
That's deep.
We went to Ada at the estuary where the Atlantic Ocean kisses the Volta River. And at that point, we had the naming ceremony. Because, you know, when ocean and river meets, this is only 5 rivers in the world that has this phenomena. And Adan is one of those places.
Really?
That's where the healing took place. Because we as a people have been traumatized by slavery. We do need healing, emotional healing, physical healing, mental healing. You know, what we went through, many people would have gone through and not have come out on the other end. So now we have to be healed in a new way, refreshed, with a new language moving into the next 400 years.
I like the new language aspect of it.
Yes.
Because we've talked about the slavery, 400
Yes,
and everything,
yes.
but we have never looked at it as resilient.
Absolutely.
And that's marvelous.
It's time for a language of power. going to the next 400 years. It's a legacy time, and it's a new day.
It is a new day. Show some love, man. Yes. It is a new day. Now, we're going to introduce our next guest.
Yes.
It is going to come and join us, and then we'll take the conversation even higher. So do me the honor. Higher. So do me the honor, do the introduction. I'll get up and greet our next guest, and then we'll take up the conversation.
It is my distinct pleasure, Ghana, to introduce to you a man called in the United States, part of the black billionaires, Dr. Michael Roberts, in Ghana, Nene Akrofi Ocansey.
Show him some love, man. There we go. Please, feel free. Have a seat. Okay. Brother, welcome to Ghana, man.
Well, listen, let me just say this first. I don't know how fortunate I am to have the baddest brother on the planet to interview me tonight. This is fantastic. You are well known. You're number one throughout of all of Ghana, but you know what? There's a little bit of your favoritism leaking over into the United States. We heard about you.
You did.
We did. So I am so delighted to be here. I'm accompanied by my elders from Ada. My regent is also here. And as you know, Nana Soswozu the regent speaks for him. But yes, tonight you have permission to speak to me directly.
I have. And then I'm going to ask you. How did that feel for you, your first time realizing that you can't speak directly to the king? You have to go to the regent, and even if you're hearing it, forget it. He had to tell you what was said.
Well, it's interesting because my first experience was when we visited the Cape Coast, and we met the chief there, the king there. And as we sat and we watched and we listened and we met and we talked, watching that transaction take place, fortunately, at the end of it, we were able to step away. I gave him a St. Louis Cardinals baseball hat. I invited him to come to my home in St. Louis for a Cardinals baseball game someday. So formalities notwithstanding, which I respect greatly, the importance of tradition, respect. Interestingly enough, in the United States, I think as a result of the days of slavery and the times where even African Americans are being subjected to racism, which continues even today, that a lot of our traditions and our love for each other have been separated in time. And, you know, it's almost one of those kind of situations where white folks have brainwashed you so much that you think that there are no real solid base locations for black folks to feel their original roots. But if you come here, if you get to Ghana, if you get here in Accra, suddenly you look around and you say, my goodness, there's nothing but my people here. They're loving, they're friendly, they speak directly to you, eyeball to eyeball. They're not looking down. They're not trying to put you down. They're trying to lift you up. And as a result of that, my delegation from the United States came and just did not want to leave.
Really?
It was difficult for them to leave, I can tell you. Everyone. And they did not know each other. They were colleagues of mine, businessmen in IT and automobile dealerships and so on and so forth. I personally owned hotels and shopping centers and TV stations like yours and radio. So I'm a diverse entrepreneur. So being a diverse entrepreneur, I, of course, start to look at, well, where are the business opportunities here at home? And I recognize that from a capitalist standpoint, people sometimes take the word capitalism and they confuse it to think that it's just somebody who's going to exploit. But I tell people all the time, if you lived in a socialist nation, you'd call yourself a socialist. If you lived in a communist nation, you'd call yourself a communist. Well, here in Ghana and in the United States, we're really capitalist. But we have to have a social consciousness. we can't do anything for people if we're broke. We can only help people if we make money or have made money in one way or another. So you have to learn how to give back. As I said in front of the wonderful family in Ada, I said these words: we must learn, we must earn, and we must return.
I like that.
Yeah.
We must learn, earn, and return.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Being in Ghana, what do you, is there anything missing? I mean, you're talking about the kind of brainwashing that you go through when you're over there, and through slavery. We went through our own kind of brainwashing through colonialism.
Sure.
Yeah.
What have you picked up in terms of, between you and us? Is there any, what do you call that thing? Any things in the way that we need to clear to make that connection real,
Yes,
or you feel the connection?
Well, there are boundaries that sometimes we feel we have to stay inside of. I give speeches. I'm doing a 26-city tour. I'm an author. I wrote a book, Action Has No Season. It's the strategies and secrets of gaining wealth and authority. And my second book just came out, Action Has No Season 2.0, which is how the actionaire, a word that I coined. An actionaire is one who takes their ideas, their dreams, their vision, and their passion, and they pursue them with courage, confidence, and bravado. So frequently I'll ask people in the audience, and I'll ask now, if you tell me if you think outside the box, raise your hand.
If I think outside the box?
If you think outside the box, raise your hand. Well, people raise their hand. And so I then ask, well, if you're thinking outside the box, well, what's the size of the box that you have put yourself in?
So before you say you think outside the box, the question is, what the size of the box that you're in?
That you psychologically put yourself in. So to your question, my point is there's no such thing as a box. There's only the horizon. There's an infinite opportunity for you every day when you wake up, because every day when you wake up, you're given 86,400 seconds. And the moment you think of the moment, it's already gone. And if you could think for a moment, where would I be today if I could eliminate the fear of failure? Now, 2 words. First word, fear. Fear is just a mental construct. It's not of nature. It's not grass growing. It's not the wind blowing. When you were born without fear. God gave you the position to be fearless. But society, brainwashing, have put and imposed a psychological bar on your brain. But can't you just eliminate that? Since it's just there, it's not somebody holding a stick over your head. First word. Second word, failure. As I said earlier, every day when you get up, you're given 86,400 seconds, which is 24 hours broken down in seconds for those math majors out there. Now, there are times when relationships may not work out. Marriages may end up in divorce. Businesses may not work out. The question becomes, is that a failure, or is that an experience where the outcome wasn't as you would have liked? And the question also becomes, did you learn something from it? Did you learn a type of things from it that will protect you from repeating it? So I say there's no such thing as failure. There's no such thing as failure.
Yes.
So now, if you become a no-box thinker and you eliminate the fear of failure, where would we be as black people? And what would that say to those colonialists and slave masters and others who try to impose the thoughts on our head that they are somehow better? Well, they're not. In fact, our DNA is stronger than any DNA of any other human on the face of the earth, because we are the origin of man. And if you look at your DNA or who you are or what you stand for, the question becomes, well, what is it that makes me different? Now, you can have empirical knowledge. That means that's something you learn at school at church, with family, at a mosque with friends, day-to-day knowledge. But then there's another thing called instinct. And in business, as in life, you may read or see something, you might write a business plan. That's empirical. The question becomes, do you have that instinct, that gut reaction, that voice of God that's saying, do this way and you'll be okay? It may be contrary to what everybody else is saying, but do it this way. So when we decided that we would be a part of the Return of the Royals, it wasn't just because we had some mathematical analysis of it. It was our instinct. It was our DNA that was reaching out and calling out, go home. Come and see your people. Get back in touch with your roots, your origin. Get back in touch with the people who really care for you and love you. And that is why we are here. And that is why we will be able to bring the resources that we have back to help where we can and enjoy a quality of life that is seldom enjoyed until you get home. And I think that is why we are here. And thanks to Princess Ocansey, she was the spearhead. 1 year ago, I met with the president of this country. The ambassador to the United States is a friend of mine, and he said, I want you to meet the president. I was in Washington, D.C., he was there, and he told me about the 400-year return, the concept of it. And I said to him, in 2019, I promise you I'll bring a delegation. I lived up to my word. We brought the delegation, and it's just the beginning. It's just the beginning.
That sounds so exciting to me. I'm almost always tempted to quote Leon Sullivan. And he was speaking on one point, and he said, the problem as he saw it was that black folks speak so much and do so little. I'm just saying that because I know you've come, the Royal Return, you've come with a solid group of investors, people who have got the cash, who have earned, and who want to return. You know, is this for real, or is this like an emotional thing? Let's go back home to the motherland. And when you get to the motherland, are you getting the kind of reaction that you're expecting, or is it like, oh, there's still a little bit of work to do here? We still haven't made that connection yet.
Well, it's a blend of all of those things. You know, this is not my first time here.
Okay.
This is my second time here.
Okay.
The concept of business requires due diligence, research, analysis. So somehow people think, oh, well, we'll get a rich guy, he'll come and just dump money. That's unrealistic. And it took 400 years to put us in a position like this. You're not going to take 4 weeks to come out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but what I've already begun to do, as king in Ada, I'm looking to work with the Nicotech Center for Peace. And there's a whole philosophy of engagement from an entrepreneurial perspective and a technology perspective. So I've signed 2 of my council to work with creating a hub tech there. And a hub tech means that the young people can come with their ideas and they can play around and they can have conversations and they can get a feel for the opportunities in technology. I'm hoping that we're going to get someone out of the community that will invent the next app that will bring $1 billion to that family in that region. So that's one part of it. Then, of course, there's the Botra River and the entire potential development from a tourist standpoint. We have to look at how do we improve the roads to have access along the sides, and where do we need to, what's the infrastructure needs in order to bring in the types of hotels and even residential. As it relates to even the agricultural side of things. You know, it's rich with land, it has the potential. We have some friends that could bring agricultural technology, which can bring drones who could fly over land and evaluate from the air dry spots and location spots where we don't have to walk all over the place. So we have the capability to bring one company in who can fly drones and then train young people to fly drones. Now, these are real businesses. What we have to look at, of course, is always return on investment and how is it going to get funded. So it's not going to happen overnight.
Yeah, to take some time.
And we're going to have to work closely with government because we have to make sure that where there are resources that are available, that those resources flow correctly in the direction that they need to flow in. So this is not, and I certainly understand the thoughts and the hesitation of people who see people come in and enjoy a good time and leave and go back home. Well, of course, you've got things to do at home.
Yeah.
You have family at home. You have businesses to run at home. So the question becomes, how do you blend it? And that formula is beginning to take shape based on my vision on how to help my guys take it. Because the old phrase, how to eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? You can be eaten, but it's one bite at a time. So, we have an elephant here.
Yeah.
And there's already momentum. We even have the entertainer side of things that are, the whole concept of the 400-year return has just been catching on, and Return of the Royals is catching on. I think even this week, the level of publicity is incredible. Being able to be on the #1 show in all of Ghana, yours, is also very incredible. But it brings credibility to the efforts. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, it does. It does.
Okay.
And as I think we're speaking about it. The human resource we have here in Africa, and what our brothers are in the diaspora, the U.S., it's phenomenal.
Yes.
If we could get the correct link.
Yes.
And go this way, we'll blow the whole world apart, So as I just asked the question, because as little as it seems, step by step, I think it's the beginning of a great thing to happen. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
Listen, you are exporting minerals, goods. You're exporting a variety of things throughout the world. But who's really financially benefiting from that?
Yeah.
What do they look like?
Yeah.
So if this country is the richest country in the world with minerals, gold, diamonds, bauxite, you name it, it's here. And yet we appear to be the poorest. There's something wrong with that picture.
Yeah.
And what the princess has asked us to do is to change that narrative. To change that narrative and make that narrative work for those in the diaspora and those here as well.
Show some love, man. We've been busy with this. I remember back with Isaac Hayes, you brought him down, and you're really working hard to make that connection.
Absolutely.
And now you have the Return of the Royals and
Second leg. First 400 years was the Isaac Hayes, and we built a center. We've given a lot of people life and jobs and so on and so forth. And even medical interventions during the HIV/AIDS, medical interventions during the Ebola, technology, economic development, and all of that. So we already have a track record of 27 years of results. Now the next 400 years, this is the Return of the Royals, and this is being spearheaded by Nene Akufo-Addo Ocansey. And I am
which means, by the way, a man of action. That's the translation. And my book happens to be Action Has No Season. So somehow they knew that without knowing it. So that was great.
It was prayerfully considered. And what's also exciting for us is Nene Akufo-Addo Ocansey, who's a spiritual attachment for him. He is backing him spiritually in the realms and making sure that whatever is being done is being guarded and protected by the God Almighty. So it's going to be a very exciting time. The next 400, I am so excited because, leadership is important. And a leader of action is dynamite. So with them and the whole team, he came with a council. There are 12-member council already in place. They've gone through the naming, they've restored their name, they restored their family ties, they are ready to go. And it's not just Adan, because the Oman Hini was very supportive of us, and the Oman Hini is already looking at projects for them to do there. So this is not just, we're focusing on Adan, but we're open to help the nation, and especially the presidency, to move Ghana beyond aid.
Yes.
Because we believe in hand up and not hand out.
I like that. 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 So, this is your second time in Ghana?
Yes.
Okay. And the first time was when?
I think it was about in 2012.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Time is flying. I know. Yeah.
And I like this whole thing about action thing. And
Yes.
surprisingly, I speak to the youth a lot. And every time I'm speaking to them, I tell them, they will interview, KSM, the motivational speaker. I says, I don't do motivation, I do activation.
I like
There
that.
you go.
Yeah, motivation is, it rounds you
I
up
like
and then
that.
you go.
Yes, I like
But
that.
activation tells
Yes.
you what to do.
That's a
So when
great-
I saw that piece on you about
Yes.
the season of action, I said, that's my man.
That's
Put
right.
your hands together, man.
Thank you.
So we all need a season of action.
Yes.
Oh, black folk do need the season of action.
Absolutely.
How are we responding generally to the season of action?
Well, we respond well once we have a leader to say it and give people levels of confidence. And you see, I'm from St. Louis, Missouri. Missouri is known as the show me state. I'll show you, but you have to show me too. So we have to come at this the same way. And one of the things that we have to recognize is change is inevitable. It's going to happen. Some kind of change. The question is, will you control the change, or will change control you? And what we're proposing is to control the change. And we can do that. And like you, I speak to youth all over the country. Part of the speaking tour is going to be called A Conversation with a Capitalist. The Action Has No Season tour. But 26 of the 36 cities will include African American colleges. It is my intention to make sure that they hear about this program, what we're doing here. So the more we can speak with a common voice and a common message, the closer we can get to success. But it will require us to control the change that's coming.
We control the change that is coming.
Yes.
We're not going to let the change control us. Put your hands together, man.
Right.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So, as he told me about the royals coming, I says we need to host them, and so I'm very, very, very happy.
Yeah, but I would not have ever wanted to miss the opportunity to be on your show.
Oh, I'm flattered. I'm flattered,
But thank
man.
you very much for having me, and Princess and I and my region appreciate the fact that you allowed us to come here, spend some time with you,
Yes.
and hopefully this won't be the last time.
This is the beginning.
He's the man. He is the man.
This is the beginning.
He's the man.
So thank you very, very much, and keep doing the great stuff you're doing.
Thank you.
Keep pushing the action. The season action.
Action has no season.
Action has no season.
We'll have to
I
get
like
some of
that.
the books here and
Yes.
make sure that all the students read it as
Yeah.
part of their curriculum one day.
Okay. Fantastic.
Yes.
So,
There are
Princess.
There are so many people who came together to help us to come this far. And I want to especially give a shout out to the Paramount in Adan, and then the Akwaku, who's our Paramount King.
Okay.
Because Nene, the word is king.
Okay.
You know, we never had the word chief in our vocabulary. It was imposed on us.
Yeah.
Because
We had
our
kings.
black men are kings,
Yeah, not chiefs.
not chiefs. And then I want to get that settled. Abodonu the fourth also, and all the elders are here with us. They are following him and making sure they give him full
All right, show
support.
some love for them, man.
You know, and that's what it's all about, is
That is
bringing our
great.
families together to lift up the whole. and that oneness is important. So
Very,
I'm
very.
just so grateful.
Yeah, and
for
thank you
those-
too
yeah.
for keeping that hope, keeping that drive to make sure that that link, which is inevitable,
Yes.
you know. But it started now. You know, I used to think, oh, we talk about this all the time. We talk so much and do so little. But now I know
Oh yeah.
things are happening.
Diaspora Affairs Officer, the President of Ghana,
Mhm.
helpful Ghana Tourist Authority, Minister for Ministry for Tourism, Diaspora African Forum, and a host of agencies, and Ghana Export Promotion Community, and also Ghana Export Promotion Authority
Okay.
has been very helpful. And so we're grateful. And the Cape Coast Chamber of Commerce, a
Yes.
big shout out to them.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, they
have
were
been
very nice.
fantastic.
Fantastic.
So it's been great.
And thank you all so much.
Yes.
And this has been a special edition of the KSM Show. This has been the Royal Return edition. And stick around, we'll be right back.
The KSM Show.